I want to have a common sense conversation about drinking water. So I'm enlisting you, Scott, because you've been around since the beginning of the Wellness Intelligence Collective and you haven't pissed me off yet. So you
Nice.
you've taken, yeah, exactly. That's a big deal around here. But
Oh,
it's
I didn't know that. I wasn't aware. Sweet.
yeah, exactly. It's a new badge of honor. Hasn't pissed Lisa off. But personally, like taking profession aside, personally, you've supported my family to be drinking clean water. So I'm not talking about whole home right now. I'm not talking about showers, not talking about our bath. I'm not talking about our laundry machine. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking straight about drinking water and using a filter. And
Yep.
so I've used a Berkey both in my home. I know it takes up space. It doesn't look as nice as people want. The reason why I actually ended up choosing the Berkey was number one, because I trusted you. And I wanted to support what you had such good knowledge and wisdom for me. But also I thought, I'm done with my RO. I'm done with this. I'm done with the I had done that. And I had spent so much money with plumbing and having somebody else. And I was like, I want control over this situation. So buying a Berkey allowed me to set it up like immediately, no plumbing.
Mhm.
And then I realized when we were traveling to Mexico so much that there's a travel one that fits into this box. And I have used since 2020, but I have used it, we've discussed and I've told you, I used the travel Berkey for a family of five for months in Tulum, where the water is not drinkable, and I used tap water. And people told me I was crazy. Every study, all these people, like humans who didn't know and humans who claimed to know, all told me I was crazy. So I tested myself after doing this also. I mean, none of us got sick, but there's invisible stuff. And
Yeah.
so I tested myself. And I was fine. No parasites, no viruses, no nothing. And I felt good. And I felt extra good on the human and environmental health side that I also wasn't buying these 18-liter jugs of water, which are
Yeah.
trucked in that Coca-Cola owns. So that made me happy. And since
Yeah.
then, every few weeks, sometimes a few times a week. Sometimes maybe I make it a month. Somebody says to me, you can't use the Berkey. There's a whole lawsuit with it. You have to stop using it. So I'm going to let you address this because my thing is telling the story about Tulum. My thing is if the government is warning about something, I actually think that's a good sign. Like I'm more apt to do it, but you have knowledge. This is your business. You are about conscious water. You've supported so many members, so many of my family and friends. So please address what's the deal with the lawsuit and our water.
Okay. Well, yeah. Thank you, first of all, for the invitation to be here. It's always
Or
nice chatting with you, and happy to share. Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation going around, and um, happy to share my knowledge. So yes, I've been selling the Berkeys since 2011. We've been the main Berkey dealer in Canada. I ship now through North America. Um, so the Berkey lawsuit, the synopsis basically is because the Berkey filters contain silver, uh, micro nanoparticles of silver, which makes them self-sterilizing, bacteriostatic. So bacteria cannot grow within the filter. That's one of the reasons they last on average 4 to 5 years. Since COVID, the EPA made a new rule that anything that contains silver and kills viruses must be labeled a pesticide. So that included the black Berkey element fell under that classification. So then Berkey says to the EPA, like, well, you haven't done your due diligence here. We're a health and wellness company, not a pesticide company. And the EPA just slapped a stop sale order on Berkey filters saying you can't sell these anymore. So they have a stop sale order against Berkey. Berkey filed a lawsuit against the EPA saying, this is not right, this is not legal. And so they're still in proceedings now. The black Berkey element is temporarily unavailable in the United States. I still have some. I sell them with the units. The EPA has no control in Canada or internationally. So worldwide, everything is fine. They are still safe to use. Let me emphasize that.
I'm still using them. Yeah.
Berkeys and black Berkey elements are very safe to use. There's no health issue. Nobody's getting sick. They've tested multiple times for any silver particulate coming through into the lower reservoir, the filtered water. There's no sign of silver in that water. Um,
And
I
let me
many of
just
my
ask
customers,
you, let me ask you a question that comes up as you say this, because I think it's
yeah,
important. So if my alternative is, let's say, buying bottled water, that water is treated in many ways with many things that are probably equal or worse than the silver that's in the filters. Is that correct?
totally. I would agree. Yeah, I mean the plastic is always leaching, even though it's food grade BPA free plastic. Maybe it's BPA free, maybe not.
Yeah.
It's always leaching. You're seeing, Google it. There's tons of articles coming out these days about microplastics and how they're getting into our bodies. A
Yep.
lot of that is from plastic water bottles. Yeah, and just the plastic industry, as we all know, is terrible as well. So yeah, I definitely agree with you on that.
Great. And just so people who don't know you and aren't familiar, how many millions of people work for your company again?
Millions. Well, it's me. Yeah, I mean, I own and run Conscious Water. I have a lot of help with social media and accounting and this and that. But yeah, Conscious Water, I'm the only owner and employee.
Right. So when something like this happens, when the EPA goes and makes this whole thing, it must compromise your business as well, right?
You know what? In some ways, yes, but in some ways, there's been boosted demand. Like a lot of people don't have confidence in these government agencies, and when the EPA says something is bad, they're like, "Oh, this is interesting. What's this about?" And then they want it even more. And then people that are believers in Berkey and have been using them, like you and I, for so many years, they are stocking up and buying extra filters and telling their friends you should buy these now because we don't know the future of the company.
Right.
And also, I just wanted to get back to this health and safety of the water. A lot of my customers are naturopathic doctors, medical doctors, nutritionists, who have been using Berkeys for 5, 10 years longer. And they've done their own lab tests on the water, because especially naturopaths with heavy metals, it's a concern. And they've tested their filters, which are 3, 4, 5 years old. Are they still doing the job? Are they meeting the claims Berkey has said of like 99.9% arsenic and lead removal? And yes, they are. They're exceeding expectations. I've got thousands of customers using Berkeys with lake and river water daily at cabins and cottages and homesteads. I'm currently working from Panama, and my tap water is not drinkable.
And
It's
same
from
with
a well,
in Mexico.
agriculture around here. Yeah, and I'm not having to buy those big 18-liter jugs, which is a waste of money and gas and time and lugging those around. I'm just putting my undrinkable water through my Berkey now 3 months, and it's delicious and great. And actually, there's growing demand here. I'll say it now for the first time publicly. I'm going to be starting a Panamanian division of Conscious Water, and then start to
You're
sell Berkey.
international. You're like one person, like an international. I love it.
Berkeys and the Birkefeld filters as well, the British Birkefeld filters, which are the official new replacements for now. So I'll be selling these through Central and South America. So really excited for that.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And,
Yeah.
on one hand, obviously, I celebrate that because humans will be drinking better water, right? It's taking out all the stuff that we don't want. We can have conversations about fluoride and lead. And at the end of the day, you want your water to be clean water. You want your water to nourish yourself and take care of your metabolic health and your cell health, like all of that. But I also want to say that every single time you use Berkey water, instead of buying one of those 18-liter jugs or any bottled water, you're also taking money. That's empathy economics. You're taking money and you're taking it away from these huge companies that are exploiting all of us, human and natural, right? Human and environmental health. Those
Yeah.
things they're tied together. So your work is so important And I wanted to have this conversation too, not just to give people confidence in using Berkey. It's not about an infomercial, but it sort of is because the precautionary principle would tell you if there's studies out against it, don't wait until mainstream media talks about it, get ahead of it. And in this case, it's so interesting because it's like, oh, there's exceptions to every rule. In this case, it's stop and pause and look at tests and look at how you feel
Yeah.
and look at the history and think, what's my alternative? Like if EPA is saying this is not good, what are they offering as our alternative? To drink tap water?
I haven't seen any alternative they're offering. So yeah, I don't
I
know.
haven't either. I've looked for it in preparation for this call because I
Yeah.
was like, oh, like how does this compare to this? No, they just want to stop us from filtering our water with these specific filters. But Brita
Mm.
can stay, all these other filters can stay. So what's so powerful about Berkey?
Right. And there are other filters out there that contain silver, and they're not being targeted as well. And Berkey had an interesting article. We can link it out after, about some other products that the EPA also were stop sale orders, and one of them was like backup generators, rainwater collection systems. So like a lot of like kind of seems like the self sufficiency aspect thing was being targeted in a way.
That's really interesting too to think about. And so, when I always say question everything, right? And one of the things that I really appreciate so much, Scott, is that when I've doubted something or when I haven't understood what I'm doing with water, I've phoned you or I've emailed you, and there's been almost no back and forth. It's you have an answer or a
Mm.
non-answer answer, but you reply. And that human essence, like who else are you? You can't call someone at the EPA and be like, but my kid, or I'm going on
Yeah.
a hand, but I can call you. And I know you're a salesperson, and I know that you sustain your life based on closing a sale. But I also understand that you have a heart and you want better. And so to me, if I can support you, in talking empathy economics and drink clean
Mhm.
water and get everyone clean water, we're better off. So if I have a Berkey, I can still keep using it based on what you've said. And if I don't have a Berkey yet, I should consider getting one, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And yeah, it's funny you say I'm a salesperson. I'm like, never been called that, but yeah, I guess you're right. I am, but I don't feel like that because like I provide,
Service.
I provide, yeah, an array of products that I believe in. I never sell anything that I don't believe in,
I
and
know.
I've used extensively myself. And so it's like I have it out there on offer, and then people come and they buy. I'm not like making cold calls and knocking on doors trying to sell stuff. It's just like, here's what I offer, buy it or don't buy it. But I think
Yeah.
it's great. So
And
it's,
and I
yeah,
and I also I think I really respect, the businesses and the brands that I promote myself also are about the human behind the brand. So you can buy a Berkey elsewhere as well, but I send people to you because I also know that
yeah,
they can ask questions if they're stuck or they're concerned and you're going to answer. And so part of, to me, of your sales process, that's what I'm saying, when all of this shit comes up, there's
yeah,
a cost that people, anyone listening, has to understand is when there's education that needs to be involved, that's a lot more investment, right? Like you have to be present. So you're going to get 100 more emails a day that don't actually close a sale, but they do build your relationships with people because
right,
it builds trust. I want trust in my water. And so
yeah,
I thank you for all of the water products that you put on. And as
yeah,
long as you're using a Berkey still and you're
yeah,
confident and you're taking them to Panama and people are using right, as you said, I think we're
yeah.
good. So any cautionary tale, like anything that you can say to anybody just who don't have the confidence?
Yeah, actually, something that came up for me there when you were speaking, a couple things is one caution warning: please never buy anything Berkey related on Amazon. Amazon, I think I don't support them anyway. They're won't get into that right now, but I've been boycotting Amazon for about 15 years. Um, there's a lot of counterfeit and fake products on Amazon. Also, prices are higher generally because the commission there is so high. I've got the lowest prices in Canada, and yeah, I love talking water and helping people. Also, environmentally, like we spoke about, their stainless steel food grade systems that get passed down through the generations, and the filters last on average 4 to 5 years. So you're not like a Brita or other things. You're not constantly replacing filters monthly. You're throwing things away. Like the actual unit will last many decades. And then also, yeah, if you choose to buy from Conscious Water, we give back annually to many water organizations. For example, in Canada, we have a lot of boil water advisories on First Nation reserves, which is super sad. Some of them have been 20 years long standing. So there's a NGO in Ontario in Creemore called Water First. So we donate to them annually. Also to the Environmental Defense Canada, also to the Blue Mountain Watershed Trust, which protects watersheds on Georgian Bay, Lake Huron, and also to the local women's shelter. So when you buy from Conscious Water, you're not just supporting a family-run business, but also you're helping others that don't have access to clean drinking water.
And you get clean water.
And you get fantastic, healthy clean water.
And you get what you purchased. Exactly.
Yeah. So the main headline when you on my website, it's water you can trust, right there, bam. And like 13 years now, I've sold over 35,000 Berkeys, and I've never had an issue. No one's ever been, I'm sick, or this is terrible, or the lab test came back full of bacteria. So it's, yeah, I stand behind it 100%. Water you can trust.
Look at romaine lettuce, right? There's all these recalls on it all the time, yet there's still romaine lettuce in boxes on our supermarket shelves. So with the history of Berkey being so trusted, with so many people so happy with it and feeling good.
Yeah.
Exactly. Where is this coming from? And you have to ask that question and trace the money. And as Scott said, self-sufficiency is a target, and that's scary in itself. But our best way of dealing with that is to actually trust what you're doing and speak to other Berkey users, speak to Scott, and build a community where you can actually be sure, stand your ground, stand in your truth. And if you are concerned, talk to the people that can actually help you, not the ones that are going to make you crazy and think that you're doing something totally wacko, because you're not.
Yes, community. Yeah, it's all about community. We're all teachers, we're all students, for sure.
Exactly. Where do people in the US or globally buy from if it's not from you?
Well, I can, so I do ship to the US. So you can go to consciouswater.ca. I've got, ever since this lawsuit came up, I've been shipping to the US daily. Internationally, I can ship, so people can email me. We can work out a shipping quote. Of course, it's going to be expensive to ship overseas, but I'll get you the best quote I can. There is Berkey Water Filters Europe, I believe. Again, if we can link out a domain, or just if you just search Berkey Water Filters Europe, there's a guy in the United Kingdom selling Berkeys. And there's in Australia, there's some companies, Pure Water Australia, I believe, Pure Water for Life. So there's if you just search Berkey in the country.
Yeah, and you guys know each other, right? Like it's like I love your saying. It's like here's this company, there's a guy. It's like find the human. Find the human, which is why Amazon. We could talk about empathy economics of Amazon, and it's the same as going to a supermarket to me instead of a farmer's market. If you can find the human, great. Like that's the key. That's the empathy economics. Keep questioning, and that's in TWIC why I try and bring all the resources possible for anything forward. And I am so grateful because water is a really complicated topic. For some reason, you'd think it'd be like the simplest thing, yet we've complicated so many things, and convenience in bottled water seems like that's trusted because of, how we're conditioned and what we've been sort of told. But the Berkey is actually bringing water back to its more natural state without the plumbing, without any of these big, huge companies who want us to depend on their convenience. So
Yeah, and they've been around almost 200 years. They were first developed in the 1830s by Dalton for Queen Victoria. She was worried about the Thames River was getting more and more polluted and people were getting sick. And Dalton, who became Royal Dalton, who makes the figurines, she says to him, with your ceramic making capabilities, could you make us a water filter? So he created the first gravity-fed water filter called the Birkenfeld, which has then evolved to become Berkey. And he was knighted because it worked and people were not getting sick, and it was used in labs and hospitals and then grew worldwide. He was knighted and became Royal Dalton for creating the water filter.
good enough for me.
Yeah, so they've been used 200 years of proven history. And one thing I was going to say too is about with the economics. Like it's an investment. You're looking at $400 to $500 Canadian for a unit, but when you break it down, it's way cheaper than buying water or using a Brita, which is, as we know, not very healthy water. So when you're using a Berkey, it works out to half of 1 cent per liter. When you're using a Brita or buying water, it's more like 5 to 15 cents a liter, versus with the Berkey, half of 1 cent per liter. So it's an investment. We do have a pay in installments program too, just because I want to get these out to
Anybody.
everybody.
And
There's people.
I'll add to
So
that. If you're using it at home, you're doing this
yeah,
set cost, and you're talking about, okay, you're saving time, you're saving money, you're saving your health, you're saving the environment. There's all these bonuses. But
yeah,
I'm in a small town in Mexico and I watch every day as a truck drives through town, this huge truck, Coca-Cola with hundreds, like
yeah,
all of these
yeah,
bottles. And it's
yeah.
like,
I've seen.
all I think of is like, this is not a solution. And people
Yeah,
see clean water, right? That's clean water, and it's not. And I see people trying to carry all of these water bottles because they need them at home. So it's like it's another errand you need to do. It's another, not that, carrying water bottles isn't the worst thing. It's like good weight training, maybe carrying. But people are really like struggling with them. And it's like, oh, we need water. We have to go back to a store. And I show up in Mexico with my travel Berkey. I open it up, I set it
yeah,
up, and I have like water all the time. I do not need to go to any store. I walk around with my bottle filled with my Berkey water, and
yeah.
I'm self-sufficient in that way. And so I'm really grateful for that. And I just want to sort of leave with that. It doesn't matter about mineralization or alkaline or structuring. All of those things can happen too. But what we're talking about is making sure that people understand that a Berkey is safe. And
100%.
until there's something else that is safer and cleaner than a Berkey, which you will probably hear first from Scott or me or Scott and I together, um, use your Berkey. Like use your Berkey, activate your water, take care of your cellular health, hydrate. Everything depends on hydration. Everything depends on hydration. So
Yeah,
thank you for playing your part in being grounded and even and generous and wise and not being an alarmist. And for anyone, I know that there's a plethora of information, including about the lawsuit on your website. And my call to action is also question everything, but careful where you're getting your information from. Anything
agreed.
else? What's yours? Same?
Yeah, and buy a filter or be a filter. Right?
Buy a
If you're
filter,
not,
be a filter is a good one.
your body's doing that job, and then you have that toxic burden, and you're not being your best self. You've got foggy brain, and all that's like one of the easiest things. If you want to feel better, drink filtered healthy water. We're 60 to 70, 75% water, depending on your age and everything. Make it the best water possible, and you're just gonna feel better and have better days, better life.
Hooray for that. That's wellness intelligence. That's why we're
Yeah.
here. We're
All
here.
right.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lisa. Ciao.